Hello there, and welcome to Junkville, the land of junkies. Many wondrous magical tales have hailed from Junkville. Oh, here is a junkie now. Hello, Loompa, how are you doing today?
Have they found a cure for syphilis?
Oh, Loompa, have you been a naughty little junkie? Ha ha! Junkies, if it's not STDs, it's suicide. Well, kids, I think it's time we start our magical tale. Goldie Scott and the Three Hookers. Meet Goldie Scott, the hero of our tale. He is on the phone, so we best not talk to him. So let's practice our listening skills.
Sorry I couldn't find your vein last night. Oh, my senses were off because of all the smack I did. You managed to inject it in your anus? Oh, that's okay then. Well, I'm off to get you a present anyway, to make up for it. Okay, I've got to go now. Yep, I love you too, Grandma. Bye.
This is where our adventure begins. Goldie Scott is on his way to see the three pimp daddies of Junkville, to buy his granny a hooker and some drugs. This is the house of the three pimp daddies of Junkville. Let's see what mysterious wonders await him inside. Goldie Scott has 3 doors to choose from. Let's see what awaits him at door 1.
Hiya! Have you come to try Queen Pimp's hookers, all made in my perfect image?
But Pimp Daddy Joel was just too camp for Goldie Scott. So with a wave of his finger, Goldie Scott says,
I'm sorry, Pimp Daddy Joel. You are just too camp. Whatever, honeybee.
That Joel, forever a drama queen. But Goldie Scott makes his way merrily to the next door. I wonder what beholds him behind door number 2.
I'm Pimp Daddy Shank. You look like a little bitch to me, boy. Have you come to buy Pimp Daddy Shank's hookers made in my image?
But Pimp Daddy Shank was just too butch for Goldie Scott. So with a wave of his finger, Goldie Scott says,
I'm sorry, Pimp Daddy Shank. You are just too butch.
You having a laugh? You interrupt me while I'm watching sports and scratching my nuts, with no intention of buying my grade A clunge. I'm gonna bloody have you. Right, I'm off to the gym to make my balls feel bigger.
At this point, Goldie Scott was beginning to lose hope.
Oh, this way I'll never find the right hookers or drugs for my poor sweet grandma.
But Goldie Scott had not given up. After all, he still had 1 door to try. Could the last door be the magic he is looking for? Let's find out. Hello, I was just lifting weights while listening to ABBA. Are you here to buy Norman's hookers in my image? A bisexual, thought Goldie Scott. Pimp Daddy Norman was just right for him. So with a wave of his finger, Goldie Scott says,
Yes, you are just right. Hooray!
So without a moment's hesitation, Goldie Scott bounced into Pimp Norman's room. As Goldie Scott walks up to the first bed with a spring in his step, Pimp Daddy Norman turns to him and says, You may try each one for free. Choose wisely, and when you have, I'll be in the next room getting your drugs ready. And with that, Pimp Daddy Norman left Goldie Scott to make his decision. Without a second to lose, Goldie Scott started to give the first hooker a bob on his knob. Now I know what you're thinking. What makes Goldie Scott such an expert in the art of schlong slurping? Well, my fellow adventurers, allow me to quote Venus, the great goddess of sex. That Goldie Scott can suck chrome off a tailpipe. Mere moments later, the first hooker releases his love juices into Goldie Scott's mouth.
Yuck!
But the hooker's love juices tasted too strong for Goldie Scott, so with a wave of his finger, Goldie Scott says,
I'm sorry, hooker number 1, but your love juice is just too salty.
With a bad taste in his mouth, Goldie Scott skipped to the next bed, where hooker number 2 was waiting for him. With a smile on his face and a twinkle in his eye, Goldie Scott proceeded to suck on hooker number 2's cock, making it harder than a Nokia 3310. After a short while later, hooker number 2 released his love juices into Goldie Scott's mouth. But the love juices were too tasteless for Goldie Scott, and would not do for his sweet grandma. So with a wave of his finger, Goldie Scott says,
I'm sorry, hooker number 2. You are just too tasteless.
Goldie Scott, not being the sort to give up, especially when it comes to playing the skin pipe, just strode to the last bed where hooker number 3 was waiting for him. With that, Goldie Scott eagerly starts chowing down on hooker number 3's cock, like it was made by Nutella. Hooker number 3 releases the love juices into Goldie Scott's mouth. Oh, Goldie Scott, Seems like you like the taste of that one's love juices. And with a wave of his finger, Goldie Scott says,
hooker number 3, you were just right. Hooray!
Well, I guess Goldie Scott found the perfect hooker, so he proceeds to follow Pimp Daddy Norman and try his drugs. Maybe this pill will take your granny's fancy.
I am the animator.
Well, Goldie Scott seems to be enjoying all the colours.
I control all of you.
No, Goldie Scott, don't stick it there.
Oh yes. Don't put it there. I am the puppet master. I am your god now.
Oh, Goldie Scott, looks like you've had some family-friendly fun with your grandma. You know what they say, kids. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Well, that concludes this tale. I'm forever disturbed, so I'm going to kill myself. That's all, people. Butt munch.